Chapter 181. He is jealous. Nothing. It was all right. Ayn Rand's relaxed tone carried a hint of difficulty. Her test paper was different from everyone else's, so of course they thought it was simple. It seemed like this test was deliberately making things difficult for her. She wanted to see who was behind this. Ayn Rand sent a message to Fatty. Can Chiang is in my suitcase. Come and get it. It won't survive too long. As soon as the message was sent, Kin Tyan walked over. Ayn Rand, the test results won't come out until tomorrow. Since we have nothing to do today, why don't we go shopping? Kin Tyan warmly invited Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand originally wanted to refuse, as there wasn't much of a point in staying in the hotel. But then she thought of Mo Jinrong and wondered where he was watching her from. Since he wasn't willing to admit that he liked her, why not agitate him? She nodded, agreeing happily. Ayn Rand and Kin Tyan walked out together, attracting the attention of many classmates, who were speculating whether they were in a relationship. Sun Hai couldn't understand Ayn Rand's actions. She was confused as she was shopping with Kin Tyan after spending the night in the tent with another man. Mo Jinrong, who was hiding not far away, had clearly seen everything. He gritted his teeth with hatred. His wife was shopping with another man, and yet he couldn't stop her. That made him furious. Mo Jinrong could only follow behind silently, claiming to be monitoring Ayn Rand's every move. His gaze was focused on Kin Tyan, afraid that he would do something malicious to her. Then Ayn Rand, what did you think of today's paper? Kin Tyan asked. It's all right. Ayn Rand's simple words were like a heavy weight on Kin Tyan. There's ice cream. I'll buy you a double scoop. Kin Tyan saw an ice cream stand, so he stopped to buy 2 cream-flavored ice creams for Ayn Rand. She took a bite of the ice cream and nodded, saying that it tasted pretty good. Their ice cream was identical and looked like a couple's. Mo Jinrong was a little angry, and he couldn't help walking up to take a bite of Ayn Rand's ice cream. Mo Jinrong, you... Ayn Rand wasn't angry, but was a little surprised. Who are you? Why are you eating her ice cream? Kin Tyan asked in dissatisfaction. Kin Tyan, he is my... Ayn Rand didn't know if she should tell others that he was her husband. I am her cousin. My sister is still young and can't be in a relationship. Mo Jinrong stepped forward to protect Ayn Rand while looking at Kin Tyan with a grim expression. When he heard that he was Ayn Rand's cousin, Kin Tyan immediately smiled. Although they did not look alike, Ayn Rand didn't object, so that must be the case. Ayn Rand and I are friends. Even though we haven't known each other for long, I admire her. Not the kind of admiration between a man and a woman. I admire outstanding people. Kin Tyan's explanation sounded weak to Mo Jinrong. Ayn Rand behind Mo Jinrong was overjoyed. Mo Jinrong was jealous. He had finally fallen for her. She isn't someone you can touch. With that, Mo Jinrong left with Ayn Rand. Your illness is cured again. The two of them walked a long distance before stopping, and Ayn Rand smiled. Mo Jinrong let her go slowly. You are already married. I hope you won't do anything detrimental to the Mo family. Even if you don't like the identity as the Mo family's young mistress, or if you don't like me, you should refrain yourself. Hide your private life a little. I don't want the outside world to say anything detrimental to the Mo family. Mo Jinrong seemed a little angry, and his tone was icy cold. Are you jealous? Are you still saying that you don't like me? Ayn Rand smiled, looking at him with big, sparkling eyes. Mo Jinrong was at a loss. He didn't know what to say. He only knew that his heart was beating rapidly. Suddenly, Skinny sent her a message. Chiang Tyan is in Langshi County. She looked at the location on her phone in surprise. Wasn't this where she was? Boss Mo, I need to go to the toilet first. Wait for me here. Mojang ignored her in anger, while Ayn Rand went to the public toilet. How did you get your information? Ayn Rand seized the opportunity and hurriedly sent a message to Skinny. Surprisingly, I found Shang Taiyan's phone number. According to the location on the phone, he should be in Langshi County. Just knowing his location isn't enough. Without a concrete appearance, I can't catch him at all. Ayn Rand frowned and said, I hacked into Shang Taiyan's phone. His phone has layers of passcodes. I can only describe his appearance, but I can't decipher the deeper levels. He is about 1.8 meters tall, a medium build, about 20 to 30 years old. He should be a rich person with good looks. That is all I can give. According to Skinny's description, Ayn Rand felt that it must be Mojang. Beside him, there wasn't anyone else in the vicinity that suited his appearance better. I'll call Mojang, locate his location, and see if it's the same one as the previous one. Chapter 182, By That. Skinny started to locate Mojang, and Ayn Rand deliberately called him. Janrong, my period came. Can you buy me a bag of female products? Ayn Rand smiled and said. Mojang was a little confused and he asked in a daze, What? I don't understand. I'm on my period. I didn't bring any sanitary pads. Can you help me buy some? Ayn Rand repeated herself. That's all. Hurry and buy it. Thank you. Ayn Rand hung up because she saw the message from Skinny. Boss, we located him successfully. Mojang isn't related to Shang Taiyan. He is someone else. Ayn Rand found it strange. All of the signs pointed to Mojang. Was her analysis really wrong? At this moment, Mojang walked into the nearby store awkwardly and paced around the shelves, not daring to make a move. He looked around to make sure that no one was around before carefully placing his hands on the shelf. He picked up a random pile and walked to the counter with his face flushed. The sales assistant lady looked at Mojang, who smiled in embarrassment. The people waiting to pay pointed at Mojang and whispered amongst themselves. 20 yuan. The sales assistant smiled. Mojang didn't have any change and took out a card, paying by card. After leaving the store, Mojang lowered his head and flipped the card into his pocket. He received a text from Rong Zi. Q isn't in South City at all. We were tricked. Someone hacked into your phone just now. You have to thank me for helping you. They couldn't get any information on you. Mojang looked at his phone, his gaze suddenly dark. Q will definitely take action. Since she found me, she'll definitely come to Langshi County. Keep an eye on her for me. He quickly replied and called Ayn Rand. I'm done. How do I send it to you? That's great. I'm at the toilet door. Ayn Rand stood at the toilet door. Mojang placed a large bag in front of Ayn Rand. Why did you buy so many? Ayn Rand was surprised. Mojang's ears were flushed. It's nothing. You can use it. He spoke in a low tone. Ayn Rand took the bag under her hand, a little at loss. She looked at the things in her hands. She could probably use them till next year, right? She returned to the toilet and continued to send messages to Skinny. Can you pinpoint Shang Taiyan's location? Shang Taiyan has already found out that someone is investigating him. I'm afraid his location is no longer accurate. Alright, I will be careful. After Ayn Rand finished speaking, she walked out of the toilet and smiled brightly at Mojang. Honey, the weather is so good. Why don't we go shopping? The amusement park? Mojang was here to monitor Ayn Rand and would naturally follow her wherever she went. Seeing that Mojang didn't react, Ayn Rand took his hand and walked towards the greatest amusement park in Langshi County. Ayn Rand was enjoying the carousel and bumper cars. She was as happy as a child. Mojang had a rare smile on his face. Rushing towards the roller coaster, Ayn Rand and Mojang stopped in midair. Suddenly, Ayn Rand's phone rang. Hello, what's wrong with you, Ayn Rand? The roller coaster suddenly fell. Mojiro suddenly shouted. He was a little afraid of heights and saw the ground that was only 10 meters away from his feet. He spun a few times before vomiting. "Sis, where are you? It's so noisy." Yanran heard screams and sounds of heavy tires on the other side. "I'm on a roller coaster." Yanran could hear Mojiro vomiting halfway through the car. "Ugh. Oh, it's alright, sis. I missed you. Have fun." Yanran hung up sensibly. In fact, he wanted to complain to his sister, but she didn't seem to have much time. Yanran was a little upset that the call was hung up, but she couldn't do anything in the sky, so she started taking selfies with Mojiro, taking all kinds of ugly and embarrassing photos of him. The roller coaster suddenly stopped after spinning for more than a minute. When Mojiro got down, his legs were soft, as though his soul was being sucked out. Let's go to the pirate ship and the pendulum." Mojiro didn't even have the strength to speak and was dragged into the pirate ship and the pendulum. After the trip, Mojiro was completely listless, needing Yanran to help walk. "Really? You can't make it? You're too weak," Yanran sneered. She rolled up her sleeves, preparing for another roller coaster ride. The wound on her arm was almost all will heal, leaving a scar that could be seen clearly. "The wound in your arm?" Mojiro asked weakly. "I accidentally scratched this." Yanran immediately rolled down her sleeves and smiled. "Let's go to the roller coaster again." She wanted to pull Mojiro up, but he refused. He had never done anything so stimulating since he was a child, and it was simply a lifespan reduction. "Alright, I'll take a break too." Yanran pretended to walk to the side. She didn't go on the roller coaster, but sat in a chair at the side and browsed the news. Chapter 183, Overturned Mojiro. She thought that since Yanran called her, he must have something to say, but he was too sensible, so he could only keep it to himself. She hadn't seen the news in the past few days, and news about Yanran and Fu Goxing had dispersed from Libro. It could be said that there wasn't any news at all. Something didn't seem right. She immediately sent a message to Fatty. "How's the matter with Fu Goxing? I have made several marketing accounts to defame Fu Goxing, but they were all stopped. The financer behind him is very powerful. There isn't any news of Yanran at all. If it weren't for Quan Mu's protection, I'm afraid he would have been able to get a new show that is being filmed. But Yanran gained his own persona from the incident, attracting a bunch of fans. I believe it will get better after some time," Fatty said. "Who is his backer?" Yanran asked nervously. "Someone so capable must not be ordinary. He seems to be one of the higher-ups in the Mo family corporation." "You'll have to ask your husband," Fatty teased. Yanran looked at Mojiro, who was upset and a little puzzled. "Continue to protect him and don't let anyone bully him. In addition, inform Quan Mu to try his best to give Yanran a chance to be exposed. Don't let this matter freeze him. If you're afraid of the financer, just say Mojiro's name. He is the real boss of the Mo family corporation." After sending the message, Yanran sat down next to Mojiro and smiled. "Are you all right?" Mojiro nodded with difficulty. He would never come to the amusement park again. "How many higher-ups does the Mo Corporation have?" Yanran suddenly changed the topic. Mojiro was taken aback. "Why do you ask?" "It's nothing. Fu Goxing has been bullying my brother. Can you help him? I heard that his financer is a higher-up in the Mo Corporation. But other than you, is there anyone else in the Mo Corporation?" Yanran had wanted Mojiro to deal with the financer. Otherwise, it won't be appropriate for her to step in, and they wouldn't take her seriously. "Of course. The higher-ups of the Mo family are all the members of the Mo family, and some of their relatives have shares. The most important person should be my uncle, Mo Changwen. If it's Mo Changwen, you can look for her grandma regarding this matter. She'll definitely help you. Her position in the Mo family is more stable than mine. If it's anyone else, I can help you. I heard that your brother recently got into trouble, so you should be very careful. The waters of the entertainment circle run deeper than you think. Mojang spoke softly. Okay, thank you. Anran was a little worried about Yanran, and she decided to rush back immediately after the exams tomorrow. Seeing that it was getting late, and Mojang was behaving like this, she wasn't interested in playing anymore, and decided to send Mojang back to the hotel. Hey, who was that? Didn't you go out with Kin Tyan? Why is there a new person? When Lian Chao saw Mojang, she was even angrier. These men were all prettier, one after another. Why did they surround Anran? It has nothing to do with you. Anran bumped into Lian Chao. How could you be so rude? Lian Chao was a little angry and wanted to rip Anran apart. Anran, I saw. Sanhai hurried over, wanting to say something, but was displeased when she saw Lian Chao's dark face. Anran, let's ignore her. Some people say that grapes are sour because they can't eat them. Sanhai pulled Anran back to the hotel. What's so impressive? Lian Chao shouted angrily. Anran, let's ignore her. Do you know what I saw today? Sanhai spoke seriously. What? Anran was confused. Today, someone sneaked into your room and took your Chen Xiang, and I was so scared. He was very fat, and I didn't dare to stop him. I'm sorry. Sanhai apologized. She was completely different from the past few days. It was like two different people. Anran thought that Fatty must have come to get the Xian Chang. That fool was caught. It's alright. It's just one Chang Xiang. It's alright as long as the money isn't lost. Anran spoke gently. Sanhai was a little dissatisfied. She and Anran had worked hard to find that flower, but Anran didn't seem to care at all. Anran, you don't seem to mind? It's alright. It'll return back to me, don't worry. Anran spoke confidently, and Sanhai was a little confused, but seeing her solemn expression, she didn't say anything. In Wrong City, when Zhao Shumi learned that Anran had gone to Langxi County, it would be much easier for her to deal with the Lan family now that they didn't have her. She was still thinking about her villa, which was the only thing that the old man left for her. She would discuss this with Tingyang. Tingyang, are you home? Zhao Shumi shouted at the door with a walking stick. Lan Tingyang was frightened by Zhao Shumi, and now that he heard her voice, he thought she was here to quarrel. Mom, why are you here alone? Liu and the others were surprised. Why? Must I bring someone over? Zhao Shumi was upset, but since she was here to ask for a favor, her attitude softened. Chapter 184, Buy the House Back. That's not what I meant, Mom. Why are you here? Lan Tingyang hurriedly poured some water. It's nothing. I just feel that since Anran isn't around, I could have a good talk with you. Ever since that girl came, our relationship has been tense. Sometimes it's rare for me to be around as well. But you said that Anran has a strong personality, so even if we don't get along, I can't do anything about it. I just came over to have a good talk after she left. Zhao Shumi changed from her usually fiery temper and sat down quietly to talk. Mom, I wasn't able to take care of Anran while she was still in the countryside. It's inevitable that her personality doesn't suit you. But she is a good child, and I am her father. I know this. Lan Tingyang persuaded. Of course I know. That's why I'm not here today to talk about this. I thought it through, and from now on, I won't throw a tantrum with Anran. I'm old and can't tolerate such a thing. Although Liu found it unbelievable, she was still very happy. Mom, I'm glad you think that way, Lan Tingyang smiled and said. Mom, is your stay at Tingy okay? If you really can't, come over to my place. Lan Tingyang was in a better mood when he saw his mother speaking kindly. Zhao Shumi's eyes lit up. Anran, that brat, would be displeased if she lived here. She wouldn't be bullied, so it was better for her to return to the villa. It's alright. I still want to go back to my old house. It's an old house your dad left for me, and I can't leave it with anyone else. Although staying at Tingyi is good, he is still an outsider. Ting-young, can you help me buy the house back? Zhao Shumi spoke with tears in her eyes. Lan Ting-young was upset to see his mother like this. Li Yu saw through her. She was here to ask for money. Mom, are you having a bad time with Tingyi, or is Tingyi mistreating you? Lan Ting-young asked anxiously. No, your brother took good care of me, but this isn't my home in the end. Your brother wasn't rich to begin with, and Yaxin was hospitalized and spent a lot of money. How can an old woman like me cause any more trouble? I think it would be better if I returned to my own villa. Zhao Shumi spoke well. In fact, she was complaining that Tingyi didn't have abalones at home and had to eat chaff every day. She and Lan Yaxin were squeezed in a small room and couldn't sleep well. It wasn't good as her big villa. Mom, the villa belongs to someone else and has been renovated. They have a contract and will have to pay several times the price if we want it back. Lan Ting-young was in a difficult position. Ting-young, just help Mom. Mom knows you have the money. I know that I'm biased towards your oldest brother in the past, but that was because he was too weak and didn't have the ability to take care of himself. You are his younger brother, and you are stronger than him. We are family. You have to help me. That is the only thing your dad left behind. You have to protect it. It is the Lan family's ancestral mansion, a place that generations of ancestors lived in. You grew up there too, on account of the past. Buy the house back. Zhao Shumi's voice was pleading. Mom, I already helped him pay his debts, and the hospital is tight. I really can't fork up the money. Lan Ting-young frowned. Ting-young, I promise you that I won't quarrel with Anren as long as you help me buy this house. Yanren wants to be a star. I will definitely support him. I won't say anything anymore. I just want your dad's house. I want it even if she renovates it. At most, I will renovate it again. Zhao Shumi had a serious expression, and everything she said was sincere. She really wanted to return to her old house and live there for the rest of her life. She couldn't bear the thought of suddenly changing places. Mom, I really can't fork up the money. I wanted to buy the house, but the location and the price of the house are several billion yuan now. If you want me to raise the price a few times, I really don't have that much money. Lan Ting-young really didn't have the ability. He could have gotten her 5 million or even 50 million, but he really couldn't afford 3 to 4 billion. Lan Ting-young, I've raised you for nothing. Do you even have a conscience? Your dad's house was taken, but you don't want it back. I, an old lady, am all alone and despised by everyone. Will you feel better if I die in the streets? Zhao Shumi saw the soft words weren't going to work and was enraged. She cried as she cursed. Mom, why are you angry again? I really can't buy back that house. Even if I sold the hospital, I can't buy it back. Lan Ting-young's tone was slightly firm. You can't buy it? You just don't want to buy it for me, right? I knew it. Ever since your daughter is back, you don't have any opinions. You listen to your daughter saying that I'm useless. You don't respect me at all. There hasn't been any news of the job I asked you to find for your brother. I think you're just patronizing us since you don't want to help him. Zhao Shumi grumbled. Chapter 185. Deliberately making things difficult. Mom, the hospital lacks a logistics department. Ask Tingyi if he wants to go. Lan Ting-young suddenly remembered. Logistics department? What does he need to do? How is the salary? Zhao Shumi wiped her tears. Her wrinkled face was full of attention as she looked at Lan Ting-young shrewdly. He manages his employees. The hospital's logistics are sometimes very busy, and he has to personally handle it. I don't know if you agree or not, but the salary is very demanding. If he isn't late or leaves early, he can earn about 10,000 yuan. Lan Tingyi made his plan. Sure, I'll discuss it with Tingyi when I get back. But you have to decide on the house purchase. Your dad's house will be in the hands of an outsider. If you're not an ingrate, you better buy it back. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace, even if I become a ghost. Zhao Shumi had finished speaking and stood up to add. It's Anran's fault that Yaxin had failed her test. When she comes back, you have to give in to Yaxin. If she's angry, you have to give in to her, or else I won't forgive you. Sashimi walked out energetically with a walking stick. Liu finally felt relieved. Hubby, I don't think Anne Ran will be forgiven by Mom. Buying a house is a big deal. You have to think about whether the hospital can handle it. I know. That villa belongs to someone else long ago. It's just that Mom is still thinking about it. Lan Ting Young was helpless. Are you sure Tingy is willing to work in logistics? I think he's just a wild horse and doesn't know anything about discipline. The elders in the hospital may have violent tempers, but after being in the hospital for so many years, they are about to receive their retirement funds and are doing pretty well. We can't let a conflict arise between them and Tingy. If anything happens, I will definitely protect these old employees from Tingy. You should know that they don't cause trouble, and if anything happens, it will be Tingy's fault. The Euro gave Lan Ting Young a heads up. She didn't like Lan Ting's lazy and bad-tempered appearance. Got it, I'll persuade him. Lan Ting Young thought about it inside. Langshi County. In the blink of an eye, it was the second day of the last exam. Because of yesterday's incident, Kim Tai-An's attitude towards Ayn Rand had changed, but she didn't find anything wrong. The two of them brushed past each other and sat down. Ayn Rand's test only had one question, which was a title written in English and had to be written out in English. She found it strange. Why did the Chinese medicine test paper have to be written in English? She looked around and saw that the test paper were obviously different from the others. She wouldn't accept such deliberate targeting, so she picked up the test paper and spoke. Teacher, why are my test papers different from others? The feliciter was a man. He walked over to look at the name of the test paper and pushed his glasses. He had been told previously that there was an Ayn Rand in the examination room, that the test paper was different from the others. Although he didn't know the reason, he couldn't say much about the order from above. Ayn Rand, this is a challenge for you. I heard that you did well in the pharmacy competition. It shouldn't be too difficult this time. Geniuses are treated differently. If you aren't willing to accept this challenge, you can leave the examination so that you won't be targeted. The man smiled. Ayn Rand sat down silently. She couldn't leave or she would let these people succeed. In fact, these English questions weren't difficult, as she often went abroad, so it was simple for her. It's alright, I'll finish it. Ayn Rand accepted the unfair treatment. When she returned, she would definitely investigate the identity of the person who issued the test. The test took half an hour, and Ayn Rand used half an hour to finish and hand in her papers. Her papers were written in neat and elegant English, filling up the entire test paper. Back in the hotel, she started to pack her things, wanting to get back as soon as possible. Ayn Rand, you're leaving? Shia's wife was a little reluctant. Yes, we will meet again. Ayn Rand smiled, pulling her suitcase as she boarded the train home. Sun Hai didn't leave with Ayn Rand. She handed in her papers a little late, so she could only take the next train. 2 hours later, she returned to Wrong City. Mom, Dad, I'm home. When Ayn Rand returned home, it was already nighttime and she missed her parents. My precious daughter is back? How was the exam? Lan Ting Young asked. Don't worry, I will pass. Ayn Rand spoke confidently. Sis, you're finally home. Ayn Rand hugged Ayn Rand. How old are you? Why are you behaving like a child? Lan Ting Young smiled and said, It's alright. How was your shoot? Ayn Rand was suddenly concerned about his matter in the entertainment circle, and her expression didn't seem too good when she looked at Ayn Rand. Now my public image has been established, but Fu Guoxing is bullying me everywhere. If it wasn't for the manager and brother-in-law, I would have been chased out of the entertainment circle. Ayn Rand was a little upset. It's alright, don't be scared. Your brother-in-law will help you. Ayn Rand smiled and caressed his head. Chapter 186, Insatiable Greed. Lan Ting's house. It was the first time Lan Ting had gone to work since he was released from prison, but he slept until noon. Tingy, you're supposed to be working today. Why are you still sleeping? Xu Yanshan said in dissatisfaction. He was late on his first day of work, and yet he was a leader. It's alright, Tingy slept late playing games last night, so let him sleep a little longer. Anyway, it's your brother's company, so your brother won't say anything either. Zhao Shimi had always spoiled her eldest son and was worried about his health. Shu Yanshan couldn't stand it anymore and pulled the blanket up. That won't do. Even the workers below have to be disciplined. Hurry and get up. Honey, you're right. I'll get up now. It's time to go to work. Lan Tingyi smiled. Today is the first day you're working. You have to maintain a good image. If you don't do it, come back and let your brother find another job for you. You're a former doctor. We can't let ourselves suffer. Zhao Shimi reminded him. Mom, don't worry. Tingyi will definitely make it. Shu Yanshan smiled as she helped Lan Tingyi with his tie. Yeah, Lan Anran, that brat, should be back today. She would be furious if she found out that Tingyi is working in the hospital. She doesn't want Tingyi to do well, that bastard. Zhao Shimi scolded in hatred. No matter how unwilling she is, Tingyi is here, and she can't do anything. Tingyi, let's work hard and show that brat. Shu Yanshan swore. Just then, Lan Tingyi's phone rang again. It showed a familiar number, and he picked it up impatiently. Old Wang, what do you want again? I already transferred you a sum of money. Are we done? Brother Lan, the money from last time is too little. I gave some to my mother and I gambled the rest. Give me some more, Old Wang said shamelessly. Ever since he received money, Old Fifth Wang would be filial and give half of it to his mother. He wouldn't touch his mother's pension money, so the rest was his. He basically spent it on gambling. You won't be satisfied no matter how much I give you. How can you be so shameless? You can't accomplish what I asked you to do, and now you dare to come and extort me? You colluded with Anran to deceive me. I haven't settled the score with you. If you make me anxious, we'll perish together. Lan Tingyi gritted his teeth. Brother Lan, don't be angry. I'm a bachelor. I don't have children. I only have one mother. At worst, I'll be sent to the community welfare center. You have a wife, child, and a mother. Will you perish with me? You enjoyed our prison sentence? Just give me the money obediently and I won't disturb you anymore. You gave me too little the last time. You were basically sending away a beggar. If you're tired of me, I can leave now. I don't care if the police come looking for you later. Old Wang smiled arrogantly, and Lan Tingyi was furious. You win. Old Wang smiled. Hurry, they're waiting to play mahjong. Lan Tingyi hung up, his face furious. Tingyi, that won't do. Would you just keep using the money to shut him up? Zhao Shimi frowned and said, What can I do? I don't want to go to jail. Lan Tingyi transferred over another 10,000 yuan as he spoke, and Shu Yanshan felt the pinch. Mom, I think it must be that brat Anran. Ask her alone and have a good talk. Let's see if we can resolve this peacefully. Shu Yanshan didn't want to waste any money today. Okay, I understand. Yaxin is getting better too. Let her go to school. Zhao Shimi nodded. Sure. Su Yanshan nodded and looked at Yaxin, feeling heartbroken. After Anran returned home from the short rest, she started to investigate the exam. This time, someone had deliberately made things difficult for her. She couldn't let him off. At this moment, Anran received a call from Zhao Shimi. Come out, I want to talk to you. Zhao Shimi spoke unceremoniously. We have nothing to talk about. Grandma, if you're very free, think about how to get the house back, or how to shut Old Wang up. I'm an unfilial, and I don't have time to talk to you. After Anran hung up the phone, she started to look up the question setter on the internet. This time, the test paper was set by someone from the Wrong City Medical Research Institute, so Anran directly hacked into the Wrong City Medical Research Institute's internet. She flipped through the latest information, and sure enough, she found out that the question setter was Jin Lin. The last time she had saw him, he was still very enthusiastic about her, and even said that he would be waiting for her to enter directly. Even if it was to test her and give her a difficult test, it wouldn't end up like this. It seemed like there were a lot of people behind him that didn't want her to enter. After that, Anran checked the Wrong City Medical Research Institute's financial records. They were quite of a lot of investments from the Mo Corporation. It seemed that she would have to ask Mo Zhenrong again. The next day, Anran went to school as usual, and Zhao Shimi was waiting by the door. Anran saw Zhao Shimi from afar, but she didn't go forward to welcome her. Instead, she deliberately stood far away and stared at her intently. Chapter 187, A Good Show. Zhao Shimi started to panic. She had been standing in the sun for a long time and was sweating profusely. Grandma! When Yaxon saw this, she hobbled over. Yaxon, have you seen that brat? Zhao Shimi hugged Yaxon and asked. That brat is right there. She's been standing there for half a day. I think she did it deliberately. Yaxon pointed to Anran, who was sitting in the shade on the steps not far away. That brat made me, an old lady, wait for her under the sun. Does she really think so highly of herself? Zhao Shimi was furious. Anran walked over and smiled. Grandma, why are you here? Are you here to pick me up? Anran asked deliberately. Where did your unfiled brother go? Zhao Shimi found it strange that Yanran wasn't around. My brother is filming. He won't be coming to school soon. Anran smiled and said, What a useless family. Let me ask you, was Old Fifth Wang investigated by you to blackmail Tingy? Zhao Shimi went straight to the point. Grandma, how could you say that? Uncle Wang's family is short on money. Auntie can buy a bag while you are drinking abalone cogni. Since you're so rich, why don't you donate some? Do more good deeds and accumulate merit so that you don't have to be idle all the time. Kidnapping your granddaughter for fun won't help you have a better reincarnation in your next life. Anran had a smile on her face. Bastard, you insolent thing. You'd better make old Wang stop, or else. Or else what? I haven't told anyone that Grandma hired someone to kidnap me. If Mom and Dad find out, they won't even give a cent of her Grandma's retirement money. If I'm not wrong, the money this time wasn't a lot, was it? Anran spoke in Zhao Shimi's ear. Bastard, damn it! Weren't you the one who forced me to do this? Zhao Shimi glared at Anran. Did I force you to kidnap me? Did I force you to treat me harshly? Did I force you to be biased towards Uncle? Or has Grandma never liked Dad and I? Actually, I can tell that Grandma only has Uncle's families in her heart, and that we're all outsiders. Since that's the case, what else is there to say? It doesn't concern me if you're being blackmailed. Call the police if you dare. I can still be your witness and sign the victim, which will reduce your sentence by at least, 20 years? Anran smiled and asked. You... Zhao Shimi trembled with anger. What about me? My good sister, is your leg all right? If it's all right, I hope you can send Grandma home safely. I have something to do, so I won't be sending her off. Anran said and turned to leave. Then Anran, just you wait. Yaxon leaned on her walking stick and threatened. At the Mo family, Mojin Rong returned a day after Anran returned. Young master, the drug experiment is going smoothly and the results of the blood analysis from the last time are out, Mo San said. Tell me the results, Mojin Rong replied coldly. This person isn't in Wrong City. There isn't a blood sample of this person in Wrong City at all, Mo San said, perplexed. No? How is that possible? Is she not from Wrong City at all? Mojin Rong's eyes lit up and he asked curiously. I don't know. Logically, it wouldn't have happened since the system was updated a few years ago. But this person isn't in Wrong City's blood sample system at all. Did they miss the count? Mojin Rong asked. No. We update the blood system in Wrong City every year to accurately ensure that the blood bank has sufficient blood. It is connected to the Public Security Bureau and various hospitals. Even if a person escaped once, it is impossible for her to escape a second time. Unless she was never ill and doesn't need to go to the hospital, or she isn't even from Wrong City, Mo San analyzed. Interesting. Last time, Q wasn't in South City. It seems that she was prepared. Mojin Rong smiled. What do we do now? Mo San asked. She came to this office because there is something here that attracts her. Since she's so interested in my medicine, why don't we show her and let her know that Shang Taiyan's medicine experiment is going smoothly. Also, help me prepare a divorce agreement. will have a use for it. Mojin Rong spoke calmly. Yes, what? Divorce agreement? You want to divorce Miss Land? You just got married! Did you run into a better woman on a business trip, young master? Mo-san asked in surprise. Mojin glanced sideways at Mo-san and spoke. You have too many questions. Did I give you too few jobs? Oh, okay. I'll get it ready right away. Mo-san lowered his head respectfully. Also, the season is about to change and the latest batch of female outfits is going on the market, right? Mojin suddenly remembered. Yes, young master. The fashion industry has been booming and the designer we hired is very good at designing. Mo-san praised with a smile. I want to see the finished product. Let the models sashay through the company and to my office. The important thing is to let Mo Chang-wen see it. Mojin came out with a seduction plan. Chapter 188, Planning a Divorce. Yes, Mo-san went down. Mojin sent a message to Anran. The plan is in progress. See you in a while. Alright, if you're not looking for me, I still need to look for you. We'll talk later. Anran was on the way to the Mole Corporation. She didn't know that a war was about to erupt in the Mole Corporation. Mo-san made the models wear their latest outfits and walk around the company, attracting the attention of countless people. What do you think the president is up to? A bespectacled man on the chair said with an admiring gaze. I don't know. I usually don't see these models, but today was an eye-opener. The other generous man laughed. What's there to see? Everyone has something like that. The female employee was jealous. You might not have what they have. The man smiled at the woman's figure. His teasing gaze made her feel uncomfortable. Pervert. The models deliberately stopped in front of Mo Chang-wen's office while Mo-san spoke. We already walked around the company. Look, these are the ready-made pieces for the season. The sales are good. Everyone, take a few pieces home to try them. Hand in a reflection a week after. Mo-san strode towards Mojin office with the models. When Mo Chang-wen saw this, he didn't know what Mojin was up to and continued to observe. Mojin wasn't far from his office, and he was Mojin uncle, so his office was the opposite of Mojin. He could see the situation at Mojin door clearly and freely through the window. Watching Mojin draw the curtains, he understood that all men would have affairs. Mojin had finally let go of his inhibited desires. Without thinking, he hurriedly sent Anran a message, took a photo and wrote it down. Look at Mojin. He was in the office with a group of models while you weren't around. The entire company knows about it, and he even pulled the curtain. I asked you to get a divorce because of you, but don't complain about my request now. Mo Chang-wen smiled and said, when Anran received the news, she glanced at it indifferently and smiled. He's hooked. I'll be right there. Anran sent a message as though she was catching him in the act. Mojin office was filled with beautiful women. He didn't even have to bat an eyelid. The show was about to start. Mojin messaged Anran. You can leave first. Tell Mo Chang-wen if you meet him. Mojin chased Mo-san out and stayed in the room. Just then, Mo Chang-wen walked over. Mr. Mo, is something the matter? Mo-san asked. What's going on inside? Mo Chang-wen was very curious as to what Jinrong was doing. He wanted to eavesdrop, but before he could walk over, he bumped into Mo-san. Mr. Mo, as you all know, all men have their interest. Young master is a human and usually appears to be very refined. He isn't that different from Miss Lan. Miss Lan is ice cold, so wouldn't young master have other intentions? Today, the designer released a new batch of ready-made clothes, and young master made such a big fuss. To put it nicely, it's the sake of the company. To put it bluntly, you understand. Mo-san smiled as he said. Mo Chang-wen nodded, but he didn't believe that Mojin was such a person usually. At this moment, there were two shadows through the curtains. They flirted and hugged each other. Mo Chang-wen saw it clearly, as expected. Once his illness was cured, he could let loose. Let's go, Mr. Mo. We don't need to care. Mo-san snickered. Mo Chang-wen finally believed him and smiled. They were gone, but he was still paying close attention to Mojin office. Downstairs, Ayn Rand had arrived at the Mo Corporation. The people downstairs were looking at her strangely, but she didn't care. She already knew. A skinny girl reminded her, "But, Lady Boss, it's better that if you don't go up there." Ayn Rand smiled at her. "What's wrong?" The other person pulled her. "It's alright. She just wants to look at you because you're too beautiful." "Thank you." Ayn Rand smiled and entered the elevator. "Don't mind their other people's business. They are the boss lady and boss. Don't get involved. It'll affect your development." The person spoke to the little girl. Ayn Rand took the elevator to the top floor. Mo Chang-wen stared at Ayn Rand's every move. "Miss Lan, why are you here?" Mo-san hurried forward to stop her. Ayn Rand was still smiling a second ago, but the smile on her face gradually disappeared as she watched the two shadows. "Why am I here? What's going on inside?" She stared at Mo-san with a horrifying gaze. "Nothing." Mo-san was a little scared, wondering why Jinrong would deliberately blow this matter up. "Scram!" She pushed Mo-san aside with all her might, opened the door and entered. She was dumbfounded by the scene inside. Several models in bikinis stood in a row. Mo Jinrong was seated on the sofa while the two models were dressed and performing in front of the curtains. In order to act like Mo Jinrong, he had specifically picked a girl with short hair. She was about the same height as Mo Jinrong, and with Mo Jinrong's clothes, it was hard to tell in front of the curtains. Ayn Rand knew that she was going to cause trouble, but didn't expect it to be like this. But she quickly immersed in the role. "Mo Jinrong!" Ayn Rand slammed the door shut, her voice loud and clear. The sound of beating came from the office. Chapter 189, Hypocritical Persuasion. It sounded like a slap, but it was actually a clap. "How dare you hit me?" Mo Jinrong's loud voice reached Mo Chang-wen's ears, and he hurriedly stood up to leave. "Why wouldn't I hit you? What are you doing behind my back?" Ayn Rand continued to curse. "Why do you curse?" Mo Jinrong's voice was deep. "Get out! Get out!" Ayn Rand chased the models out loudly, but reminded them softly, "Go out and don't say a single word." The models walked out, one after another. Mo Chang-wen heard the noise and came in. He seemed to be here to stop a fight, but he was actually here to watch a show. "What's the matter?" Mo Chang-wen persuaded her. "Uncle, Mo Jinrong is horrible. I can't live anymore," Ayn Rand complained. "Marrying into the Mo family is already beyond your reach. Get a divorce if you don't want to." Mo Jinrong continued in a low voice. "How can you get a divorce so easily? You've only been married for a few days, you silly child. Ayn Rand is a daughter of a wealthy family, after all. Divorce isn't a joke. You should think this through," Mo Chang-wen persuaded him. "I've thought it through. I haven't been back for a few days, and some people can't take it anymore. I can't live like this." Ayn Rand was furious. "Ayn Rand, you're just saying those words in a fit of anger. Jinrong, how could you do this? You only recovered a few days ago, and yet you're already like this? What if old Mrs. Mo finds out?" Mo Chang-wen said. "It's settled." Mo Jinrong sat in the company chair. "Mo-san! Mo-san!" Mo Jinrong shouted. Mo-san hurried in. "What's the matter, young master?" "Draw up a divorce agreement. I want a divorce." Mo Jinrong was resolute. "Young master, you..." "Hurry!" Mo Jinrong seemed very impatient. Mo-san turned to leave. "Jinrong, think about it. Previously, you and Ayn Rand were so close, and it was just a small conflict. How could a married couple not quarrel? You can coax Ayn Rand. Today is just a misunderstanding. You can explain it to her." Mo Chang-wen continued to persuade them. "Divorce!" Mo Jinrong was firm. Mo Chang-wen was overjoyed. Because Mo Jinrong's office was independent, they could only hear arguments. They couldn't see anyone. The president had his own private access, so even if someone came out, no one could see them, and Mo-san could enter without worry. "Really? They're getting a divorce?" The people outside heard the noise and were shocked. "Men are indeed flirtatious," a female employee said. Shortly after, Mo-san took out a divorce agreement. "Young master, I've let the lawyer see the divorce agreement. There aren't any problems." Mo-san placed it on the table fearfully. Mo Jinrong picked up a pen and signed his name without a word. "All right, since he signed it, I'll sign it." Lan Anran signed her name on another copy. No, Mo Chang-wen sighed. You can't take any from the Mo family's money. Mo Jin-rong spoke impatiently to Anran, who was about to leave. Who cares about the Mo family's money? Anran held the divorce agreement in her pocket. Previously, we agreed that the shares in the Mo family's house would be mine. They were given to me before the marriage. You can't go back on your word. As expected of a countryside woman, all you know is money. Mo Jin-rong continued to be dissatisfied. Anran didn't reply and left angrily. Mo Chang-wen was overjoyed. Now Mrs. Mo could probably let his illegitimate child in, and his next plan could begin. Anran can't step into the Mo Corporation. Mo Jin-rong spoke to the employees eavesdropping outside, as though he was declaring his sovereignty. Jin-rong, you're taking this too far, Mo Chang-wen continued. Uncle, please leave. Mo Jin-rong chased him away, looking down at his phone. See you in the underground garage. Anran sent him a secret message. Mo Chang-wen left helplessly, turning to go to old Mrs. Mo. In the underground garage, Anran was waiting for Mo Jin-rong in the underground garage, but Mo-san came. Where's Mo Jin-rong? Anran asked. This land, young master said it wasn't convenient to meet and wanted me to come over, Mo-san replied respectfully. He had to admit that he admired the superb acting skills and was almost fooled. Alright, let me ask you, do you have shares in the Wrong City Medical Research Institute, or have you invested in it? Anran asked directly. The Research Institute is from the country, but as the number one taxpayer in Wrong City, the Mo Corporation naturally has investments in the Research Institute. Mo-san smiled and explained. Will the Mo family be able to participate in the internal decisions of the Research Institute? Anran didn't ask Mo-san about the test, as she might not even be able to get an answer. She just wanted to test Mo-san's reaction. No, the Mo family may invest, but they don't have the right to decide. Mo-san thought for a while. Anran could tell from Mo-san's slow reaction that he wasn't telling the truth. Since she didn't get an answer, she would have to find out more about Mo Jin-rong. Chapter 190, Old Mrs. Mo. At the Mo family, after Mo Chang-wen left the company, he went to old Mrs. Mo's place to report the good news. He exaggerated Mo Jin-rong's flaws, and old Mrs. Mo listened. Usually, he would speak ill of her grandson. Although old Mrs. Mo was old, she was very shrewd. I may be old, but I am not stupid. Last time, your wife ran over to say that my precious granddaughter-in-law was horrible because of her poor relative. I didn't expect her to distort the truth. I almost believed her, but I didn't expect someone to take advantage of my granddaughter-in-law. The Mo family values reputation, and we don't let just anyone bully us. Old Mrs. Mo caressed the prayer beads in her hands as she spun them. Mom, it was a misunderstanding last time, and it's really Jin-rong's fault this time. If you don't believe me, ask Mo Jin-rong. The entire company saw it today, and they were even arguing. I saw them sign the divorce agreement with my own eyes. Old Mrs. Mo started to believe Mo Chang-wen. Are you serious? Mom, call Jin-rong if you don't believe me. I'm telling the truth. I tried to persuade him, but I couldn't. Jin-rong was too much this time. You have to nag at him. There aren't many girls like Anran. Jin-rong really doesn't know how to appreciate good things. Mo Chang-wen continued to feel regretful. Old Mrs. Mo still didn't believe it, so she called Mo Jin-rong directly. Hey, rascal, I heard that you divorced Anran. Old Mrs. Mo asked agitatedly. Yeah, Mo Jin-rong spoke in a deep voice. Nonsense! Anran is such a good child. She is beautiful, has a good personality. Her family is worthy of the Mo family. You divorced her because of a few female models? Why didn't I see you like this in the past? How did you become like this? Old Mrs. Mo chided. Grandma, I can handle it myself. Don't worry. Mo Jin-rong hung up. Old Mrs. Mo was furious. Nonsense. Anran is his medicine. He definitely won't get better after divorce. Doesn't he know it's because of Anran that his illness was cured? Old Mrs. Mo was furious. Mo Chang-wen had his own considerations, and he asked curiously, Mom, what did you say? Lan Anran is his medicine? Yeah, don't you realize that Ayn Rand is the one who can be with Jinrong? Don't think that he can recover just because he looked well for a few days. How silly. Old Mrs. Mo was displeased. Mo Chang-wen didn't expect this. If Len Ayn Rand was gone, the antidote would be gone. It seemed like he would have to make Ayn Rand disappear. No, I'm going to find Ayn Rand and talk to her. Old Mrs. Mo stood up. She was anxious. If her granddaughter-in-law was gone, so was her great-grandson. How could that happen? Mom, you're not well. I'll let Shu Pei go. Mo Chang-wen stopped her. I don't trust that talkative wife of yours. She could ruin a good thing. I'll go myself. I'm still very influential. Ayn Rand would probably agree. Old Mrs. Mo spoke with anticipation. Mom, Jinrong is in such a state. What are you still thinking about? There's a wandering grandson outside. I have to bring him back. Mo Chang-wen was excited. In your dreams, an illegitimate son can enter the Mo family? Let me tell you, Mo Chang-wen, don't even think about it. Although Mo Yang isn't close to me and doesn't visit me often, he and Jinrong are the real grandchildren of the Mo family. Your illegitimate son can dream on. Old Mrs. Mo was furious. She returned upstairs, changed into a set of decent clothes, and left the house with 2 boxes of Ayn Rand's favorite pastries. Ayn Rand returned upstairs and took out the divorce agreement. She looked at it for a long time. Although it was fake, it did seem a lot like a real thing. Sis, what are you looking at? Ayn Rand suddenly walked in. No, it's just the school's test papers. How's your show? Ayn Rand was frightened. She hurriedly hid it. Just like that, the news about Fu Guoxing has been suppressed and won't be appearing anytime soon. He's pressuring me, but the manager said that she will try her best to protect me. Ayn Rand's tone was grim. It's all right. He won't be able to make waves in a few days. Ayn Rand spoke easily. Why, sis? How do you know? Ayn Rand was curious. I'm guessing that the wheel of fortune in the entertainment circle revolves. Fu Guoxing has offended many people in the entertainment circle over the past 30 years. Now that something like this has happened, I'm afraid everyone will kick a man who is down. The entertainment circle is a place that would kick a man who is down. In a few days. Ayn Rand smiled and said, Those who bully her brother will not have good lives. Alright, thank you for the auspicious words. My new movie is already halfway done filming. The next movie is a comedy, but unfortunately it was stopped by Fu Guoxing. If this continues, I'm going to go home to farm. Ayn Rand joked and returned to his room. Ayn Rand took out her phone and messaged Fatty. Find dirt on Fu Guoxing, get as many people as possible who were hurt by him. In the end, hand the evidence to Ayn Rand's manager. Understood, Fatty replied.